everyone, and welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. We're live for you from Abuja studio in the nation's capital. So much to talk about. What an interesting day. One that we go down in the political history of Nigeria as one day, so much trouble. Well, the trouble we saw today was on the floors of the National Assembly. But before we get into all of that, everyone, let's bring you some news regarding what happened today in a court on the FCT in Abuja. Today, the Chris Uba faction of the PDP in Anambra State has obtained an interim court order asking the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, not to publish the name of Valentine Ozigbo as the candidate of the PDP. The ex parte motion heard and granted by Justice Y. Halilu is asking INEC, which is a fourth defendant, from tampering with the name of Mr. Valentine Ozigbo as the candidate of the PDP for the November 6th election and not to allow it to submit Mr. Ozigbo's name for the poll. The order is granted an accelerated hearing to the suit. And it does look like the controversies rocking the PDP over the conduct of that primary in Anambra State for the November election is still very much unraveling. That's out of the way, everyone. Let's get into the mix of things for tonight. It was indeed an interesting day. No one could predict from the start of the day. The House is left undecided on the passage of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, while the Senate passed it with a series of controversies and adjustments here and there. Let me allow you to listen first and foremost briefly to what went down at the Senate. Welcome to the National Assembly here in Abuja, the nation's capital. It's been a most busy day for the two chambers of the National Assembly. Of course, to my left here is the Senate chamber, and up to my right is the lower chamber, the Green Chamber, the House of Representatives. And what has been a very momentous day for the two chambers of the National Assembly, because federal lawmakers are planning to go on recess. But what we are seeing today is an unusual business and the kind of traffic that are unusual right here at the foyer to the National Assembly. And of course, the lawmakers are having deliberations over the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. In the House of Representatives presently, they're talking about the petroleum industry bill. There's some disagreements and deliberation, debate over some portions of that bill. In the Senate, there's been some disagreements over a controversial and touchy issue of the electronic transmission of results, which threw the chamber into a rowdy session. And afterwards, they went into an executive session. It's been a very, very eventful day for the National Assembly. Lawmakers are going to be sharing their view on this very historic moment in Nigeria's political history. The Electoral Amendment Bill on the elections in Nigeria, and of course, the petroleum industry bill about how the petroleum industry will be managed in the country. And welcome to the program. It is Politics Today right here on Channels Television. I'm now being joined by some lawmakers to give us a sense of what today has been. It's a momentous day. It's very historic in the history of our politics in Nigeria. I'm being joined by a representative from Kogi, Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us right here on Politics on Channels Television. Give us a sense of what is happening. PIB, it does look like it's been stepped down. It's not going to be passed or move forward as expected. What exactly happened?
And the process of lawmaking is that after the two chambers have passed their law, you have a committee that is called conference committee to reconcile the differences. So where does we've not been able to reconcile? The Senate passed 3% for host community, House passed 5%. And so there's not been a shift of ground for both sides. The House is maintaining 5%, while the Senate maintaining 3%. So because of that, we're at a crossroad.
What about the electoral amendment? It does look like that's a very touchy one. We're understanding that there's been some kind of insertion. Is it true? I mean, what you worked on in the House, is it different from what the Senate worked on? There's been some rowdy session in the Senate.
As per what is in our report, I have not found any insertion. All those insertions are not in our. The only area of contention so far is Section 52(2), where the proposal is saying that INEC should be given the discretion to determine means of transmission. And I'm privileged to be aware that in the INEC presentation, INEC wanted electronic transfer. And the argument of some people has been that there are areas of this country where you do have network. And I say no. There's nowhere you don't have PS in Nigeria. And that even if you are in a place where there is no network, the moment you move to where you find network, every item, every information that is sent to you, just like it will be uploaded.
I'm being joined by Senator Obinna Ogba from Ebonyi State. Thank you so much, Senator, for joining us. What happened today? How did you vote? Did you vote for transmission, or what exactly happened?
Well, personally, I voted for electronic transmission of the results. And what is happening in the Senate is really unfortunate. And but my happiness is that Nigerians are watching and they see what is happening. At the level we are today, when they say, transmission of results electronically, people are opposing it unnecessarily. It's just like when the corner during the Loretta Noche issue, instead of stating the obvious, they started saying federal character issue. But Nigerians knows the truth.
What is practically possible technology-wise, and of course, what Nigerians want? If the majority of the senators say that they voted in one angle, what do you think prevailed today? Reality or what Nigerians want?
Well, I think that is what Nigerians want. The reality is that, for instance, there's no state in this country today that you can't get network. And if you upload anything now, assuming there's no network here, the moment you move a kilometer there, the whole thing will offload and go to wherever you want to send the message or any results. But their fear is what I don't know. But it is clear all this is about 2023. Certain people want to win election at all costs, whether people voted for them or they did not vote for them.
We are working very hard to ensure that we work on the electoral acts so that those areas, those gray areas, those areas that have been giving us problems, giving us negative perception in the eyes of the world are corrected. And that is why we are very particular that in this electoral act amendment, transmission of result must be sacrosanct. We don't want anything that is left to the discretion of INEC. And again, we also want a situation where INEC will be truly made independent. What you call independent National Electoral Commission today, to a very large extent, is a dependent National Electoral Commission. And we believe we cannot have a credible electoral process without transmission of results electronically, on one hand, and on the other hand, we cannot have a credible system without the INEC being independent in its real sense.
Distinguished, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much.
It's a momentous day for Nigeria. A lot of people are expecting. Do you think this went the way Nigerians wanted it?
Yes, I believe it went the way Nigerians wanted it because justice was done. It was a clause-by-clause consideration for the Electoral Act that has just been amended by the Senate. And the major contentious area of the bill was adequately attended to by all the lawmakers. People were given the opportunity to express their mind and their feeling concerning Clause 52, subsection 3 on the electronic transmission of voting. And at that point, an amendment was proposed by Senator Sabi Abdullahi that says that due to the lack of enough connectivities across the length and breadth of this country, that there is need for us to engage the NCC to work in conjunction with INEC so that they can give us the level of coverage and from there take a decision which they will report back to the National Assembly for a virtual decision to be taken on electronic transmission of voting, which I believe it is right, knowing that we don't want any part of this country to be disenfranchised from voting and their voting being counted.
There was a rowdy session. Lawmakers disagreed. Do you think this is a position Nigerians want?
Well, I don't think that this is what Nigerians want. Nigerians had told us clearly
what they want. They want electronic transmission of voters without any let or hindrance. But what happened on the floor was that some members now introduced something that is against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria by making an independent body, INEC, to now be subject to direction by NCC. And all they said was, we don't have enough coverage and so forth. And therefore, before INEC will implement, it has to go to NCC. And we felt that that is wrong. Number one, INEC is independent. And the Constitution is very clear on that. If there's any law that we make that is contrary to the Constitution, then that law cannot stand. So,
you've been working several months for this day to happen.
Yes.
Well, did it go exactly the way you wanted it?
Well, fine, I thank God, and the bill really went along the way we have planned for it at the beginning, because we needed to have the people's view, agree on what Nigerians want, and we had public hearings, and a lot of ideas were brought in by members of the public hearing, and this is what we put on the electoral act.
It's interesting that it was put into a vote, and when you did, you voted against it. Why?
Yeah, because this is an improved version of the report. When we make a report or a bill, it's like a draft to the Senate, and the Senate can be able to amend anything that they find feasible. We are a committee of 18, and the committee of all were a committee of 109 senators, whereby the ideas can come for amendment. And I agree with the amendment. And if since the majority of the people are on this side, just like when I signed the bill that has been produced from the committee, the majority of people agreed on that. Now in the Senate, the majority of people agree on that. Yes, we all agree on electronic voting. We all agree on electronic transmission. Nobody is saying no to all these two factors. But what we are saying is you do it when it is practicable in the country.
All right. But just before I allow you go, are you aware that majority of Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians, may not be in agreement with what is passed today? It may not be popular with a lot of Nigerians. Are you worried about that kind of feeling?
I don't believe that a lot of Nigerians will not support this bill. It's passed today, because a lot of areas do not have coverage. Even if you are driving on the road, you find there's a place where you are talking and the network goes off.
What happened today? Do you think Nigerians will be happy with what you and your colleagues did?
Some Nigerians will be happy, many Nigerians will be happy, and some will not be happy, and that is democracy. It's normal. You know, you understand, for example, where I come from. I come here as senator from Borno State to represent the people of Borno State, and by extension to represent Nigerians. Where I come from as it is now, there is no light, no telephone, not to talk of network. And you are talking about electronic voting or electronic transmission of this. Can you do that without electricity? Certainly the answer is no. We are not saying that electronic voting or transmission is not good, but we are saying that it is not the time. So why would you even contemplate on using it when you know that only 46 or 43% of Nigerians is confirmed by NCC have network coverage?
Some of your colleagues are alleging that the reasons why some of your colleagues put this bill in this form is to rig election in 2023.
Oh my God. When they speak about that, I talk to them, and I really have to say it here. We conducted 6 elections. Only 2 were conducted APC. You remember, Shehu, at one time under PDP in a state, they recorded more votes than the registered voters. Nigerians didn't go down. We went to court. We lost 4 times. We went to court. So it's not. These are people that have rigged before, are accusing us that they say in anticipation that we are going to rig. Which one will you listen to? Let's be honest.
So that I did for you, our viewers, tonight on Politics Today, to get a feeling and the pulse of the lawmakers. Perhaps even from what you see on the plenary, part of which I'm now going to start showing you now. First, let me begin from the red chamber, the upper chamber of the National Assembly. How the debate, part of the debate, what led to the rowdy session in the Senate. Take a listen to it.
Abasi Akpan, say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it.
That is the chamber of the 109 senators, the red chamber. What about what happened today in the green chamber? Let me allow you to see for yourself. Perhaps you were not there, or if you were not watching China's television, because we are live at a plenary today. Watch this. So the House of Reps could not agree on some of these issues. So they've adjourned to tomorrow. They were supposed to, after today, go on recess. So that's what happened. A summary of it all, because I cannot tell you the full story and the full gist. But let's get into it. What are your thoughts? Let me introduce you to my guest tonight. I have Honorable Cletus Obun, a former lawmaker and a lawyer. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And with him is, he wanted to be in the House of Assembly, but he couldn't. He didn't win the election. Anthony Ehilebo, a lawyer and a member of the PDP. Thank you so much, gentlemen. On the light enough. So you saw what happened today. Interestingly, both of you have a history with lawmaking and parliamentary procedures. So let me begin with you, Honorable Cletus Obun. You heard what some of your APC members in the National Assembly said in the defense of what they voted for today, because it went into a rowdy session and they decided that they were going to put it into vote. But eventually, that's what we got. Are you impressed?
That is parliamentary procedure. You can't change that all over the world. That is parliamentary procedure. You cannot change it. The worst case scenario is to go into what they will call the voting pattern. That is to say, let us count the votes. You saw it when it came to third term and all that. That's where the House of Reps, the red chamber, the green chamber is going to go into by tomorrow, if anything. But I can tell you something clearly. In a democracy, we cannot be seeking to have children as women and be afraid of going to the maternity. We cannot be seeking democracy and saying that the minority must have their way and the majority will have their say. You say that and rant it and chant it as political scientists, as political activists and actors. And when it comes to the nitty-gritty to practicalize it, you start screaming that the world and Nigeria must go down. The facts of the matter are before the public. You voted people into power. And they have come out to say, from what we hear from our people, this is what we want to do. And like Aline Dume said, the percentage of coverage of electronic, because all is about electronic voting, and all of us, anybody who says there should be no electronic voting is not a patriot, is not a Nigerian, and does not want peace in Nigeria. But the point we are today, we are asking ourselves, you are a woman, you are 9 years old, and you say your ambition in life is to marry. And your father is saying, wait till you are 18. And you said, no, I'm a woman, I can take a decision. I have child rights bills around me and all that. That's where we are. 60 years plus, and we're insisting on certain things that people of 200 years. Imagine Donald Trump and Biden, the Democrat and the Republican, crying about hacking from Russia. Hacking from Russia after over 200 years as a democracy. And in Nigeria, we're saying, even your so-called electronic voting. I come from Cross River State. 80% of Cross River State is not covered by any network, including my village, Bumaji. It doesn't have. Bokiluku government has 90% non-coverage, only 10% coverage.
Was there election there the last time?
There have always been elections.
What, did they use card reader machine?
The card reader fails, and we stop elections for 2 days. Elections in Bokiluku government, for example, from Okwakwangwa, Bumaji, my place, down to the ranch where you know, where even heads of state of West Africa and African Union go to sit. Half of the time, there's no network there till today as I speak to you. And you now talk about electronic transmission. We are saying you are ready to hack. They tried it in Dubai. It didn't work in 2019. And we are saying to you, we want electronic voting. But let NCC assure us. Let Airtel, MTN tell us that we have this level of coverage and we can do that. And you're saying, no, we shouldn't act. But you are going to court about a criminal case. This man has killed my son. And we say, let's do forensic auditing. And you go there and discover this man was never near that incident. We look for experts in medicine for us to take a case, a criminal case in court. But we don't want to look for NCC when it comes to judging of elections.
So you agree that based on the position, because the amendment, the motion was moved by Honorable Shabi Abdullahi from Niger State, that there should be an amendment, because initially was that there will be electronic voting, which will allow for transmission also of result. But this time around, it had to be in consultation with the NCC, with the approval of the National Assembly, before we can use that in election. That's your position. And it does look like the position of the majority of the APC lawmaker in the red chamber.
Clearly because of the realities today. But like I insist, Nigeria needs electronic transmission. But we're asking, are we ready for it? Or are we just fantasizing?
All right. Let me allow Anthony. Anthony, your thoughts, your reaction to what Honorable Albon said.
Sure. I think the first thing is, before I go on to respond to Honorable here, you introduced me as a member of the PDP, but I feel this issue should not be viewed from the lens, a political lens, but rather the lens of the survival of this country. If my brother can sit down here and try to justify the wanton disregard for our constitutional provision, as a lawyer, ask him what Section 78 says about INEC. That INEC shall determine everything that has to do with registration of voters and voter, anything regarding election is succinctly under the purview of INEC. And now, APC senators would want to breach the very constitution they swore to uphold, they swore by, and guides them by giving the chairman or whoever leads NCC an alternate power, and them themselves, the National Assembly, the power to co-adjudicate elections with INEC. When the Constitution clearly provides for the independence of INEC. Do you think INEC is independent now when it has to, before it conducts election, it has to seek National Assembly approval? INEC. And we are sitting here in this studio, it looks like something that we should be okay with, my dear brother. People who came into, several times the president has spoken, and he cedes his victory in 2015 election to the introduction of technology by the smart card reader. You just asked him a question now. Instead of, you see, sometimes the priority of our National Assembly is all over the place. And one wonders whether they are not seeing the issues as we Nigerians. Did we elect them to go and enjoy on our behalf? Or rather to do the job we have sent them to do? Even if the entire APC have decided that they are going to machinate, did they take a sampling of the opinions of people from Lagos State? Because we are seeing the uproar from every angle we turn now. We see the uproar that this is not what Nigerians wanted. Nigerians wanted an improvement to their electoral engagement.
All right, let's break it down one after the other. You talked about the issue of the party lines. It's important because this is a political program. And of course, in the National Assembly, either you like it or not, whatever discussion you are having, it has to be along party lines, because when you put it to vote, you are likely to vote along party lines.
So there are national issues. No, there are issues that don't have.
No.
It has been done.
Get me right. Just hold on, Honorable. The point I'm making is the votes today in the Senate was majorly voted along party lines. And that's why the invitation tonight, was because of, I mean, that's the reason why we brought you as a PDP member and him as an APC member. The APC looks like they have a stance because of the vote that we saw today on the floor. But there is a major question that was raised today about internet penetration. There is a data that says that Nigeria has less than 50% of internet penetration. From that point of view, What do you say to that clause? How do you say it?
So what I think is that to 2023 we have 2 years. And if you have less than 43% penetration, even if you have an 80% sampling on any subject matter, including election, it would seem to have been fair and freely adjudged. So you are looking at maybe, and we're talking about achievable data. It's a shame that instead of us fixing our problems, we are creating more problems with it. So when I say more problems, we have experienced elections. There are 4 off-cycle elections that have happened in the recent past. You had Bayelsa, you had Kogi, you had Edo, and then you had Ondo. The reports are there, and you can verify that there was a history of violence in Bayelsa. There was a history of violence in Kogi State. But what happened when you got to Edo? Edo was greatly reduced because you had transmission of, there was no longer any need to go to a collation center and go and disturb them there so that you can distort the votes. Nigerians want elections that are peaceful. The Nigerian future depends on us having an improved. Okay, so what? They should just leave the Electoral Act as it is, rather than all this tampering they are doing with it. Because either if you don't want to improve something, and you sit down here and say, "There's this." Look, there are issues that transcend party and politics. Look, before you first go into a party, you must have a country. And what sustains a country is if there is fairness, equity, and justice. You are saying there is no internet penetration for maybe the voting population, say maybe 80%. So you are looking at a 30% margin. So why can't they work on providing this service to the people?
Precisely the issue.
All right, I mean,
precisely the issue.
Instead of negating the laws that would aid in free and fair. Look, statistically, you have shown that you've reduced violence. Loss of life must mean something in Nigeria.
Let's take a breather. But when we come back, I'll allow you to respond, and there are more to talk about on this program. Of course, I'll get the thoughts of my guests here in the Abuja studio on some of the issues that have been raised on the amendment bill. And again, afterwards, we get a former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, who is in Kano, to weigh in on some of the state of the nation, and of course, its views and thoughts about the ongoings in the country. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on Politics Today, right on Channels Television. Honorable Cletus Obun, a lawyer, a former lawmaker, and a member of the APC, and Mr. Anthony Heyilebo, a lawyer and a member of the PDP. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I was going to allow you to respond to some of the things Mr. Heyilebo said in respect of the issue of the interest of the country, the sanctity of our electoral process, and of course, issue of the integrity of the lawmakers, which is being put into the public discourse now.
So let me make one correction. First, I am not a lawyer, but that is not the issue here. I've been a lawmaker. I will still be a lawmaker. The issues at stake, he has moralized. He's engaging in a lot of moralization. We are dealing with the politics of the politics, which is to say that he has simply indulged us with so much of moral pontifications, engaging us in a lot of pseudo-intellectual grandstanding. We cannot continue like that. On the floor of the House, he aspired to be a parliamentarian. And you inundate Nigerians with the morality of spiritual pontifications about what to do and what not to do. Yet from the Greeks to the Americans today, we keep saying we are a democracy. And people take a position after being voted into office. Like he rightly said, you will definitely no longer be an APC or PDP member when you get to parliament. You become a Nigerian parliamentarian. Now, having admitted that, if your own instinct, having admitted that you have less than 43% by his own admission, 43% internet penetration, you said 50, he even admitted it was 43%.
I said less than 50.
Yes, which is what he admitted, 43%. If that is the case, why are you telling us that we should go into electronic voting when you are so sure of the failure of the electronic voting? We want to admit to Nigerians that we want and desire that we should have electronic transmission of election results. But we are saying, have we the capacity? Potential is different from practical execution of your potentials. You are a graduate. Can you write like a graduate? You are a PhD holder. You are a professor. Can you do that?
How do you react to the allegations coming from opposition lawmakers that this is all about the plans to rig 2023 election? There's a grand plan, according to them, that 2023 election is just this plan, this whole amendment bill and the transmission of result and all of this debate is about the 2023 election, and there is a plan to rig it.
I want to tell you something about election and election cycles. I'm not one of those people. I'm a victim of election rigging. I am a victim. I am a victim as state chairman in opposition in Cross River State, as opposition in Nigeria. I have been a stakeholder, so I know the pain of election rigging. Therefore, I subscribe to anything that will circumscribe and impede and make sure that there is no more rigging in Nigeria. I will give you these instances. That it is no longer fashionable to be planning for the next election as if you are the owner of the world and the owner of Nigeria. Those who have planned like that, most of them never saw the election. If they had asked Audu in Kogi State to choose between his electoral victory and his life, I'm very sure he would have told that person that he's a liar and a fake prophet. But this election was being announced in his favor, and he never saw the result. So men should learn never to act God. So don't ever plan for 2023. Are you in 2023? So I want to ask you,
with this amendment that has been done, that has been passed in the Senate, does it improve our election in any way?
Yes. The reason is simple. When he talked about it, the most amended constitution on earth today is the American Constitution. It had the largest amendment on earth by any democracy surviving. No other constitution have been more amended than America. The reason is because as the Americans meet each obstacle to democracy, they are never afraid. They have the courage of patriotism to ensure that there's an amendment. What he's saying to us is that we should amend because we have 2023 election. Beyond 2023, most of those actors in the National Assembly, none of them is less than 45
Let
years.
me ask Anthony,
they cannot go beyond that.
Anthony, this particular amendment passed by the Senate, will it improve our election in any way?
Sure. You know when I said that we should leave it if they cannot do it the way Nigerians want. Because you see, we all watched on national TV when people made presentations to INEC. Yaga made presentation, the Nigerian Bar Association, a lot of people made a lot of presentations to INEC and INEC made to the National Assembly for amendment. That these are the kind of improvements and innovation we want in the amended Electoral Act when it comes as a passed bill. Only for us to see or become aware that they have started amending or fiddling with this, we raised the alarm that, hey, hold on 1 minute, what are these people up to? Now, it has come full cycle, and we have seen a direct affront to annexing INEC. The National Assembly, led by the APC senators, now want to make INEC an annex of the National Assembly, where they tell it when and how to conduct elections. You see, you know when you were speaking,
that is not the position.
I held myself from speaking because you were injuring the sensibility of Nigerians as to what they want. Now. Because you think that by saying that someone is
you are picking one clause and discussing only one clause. It's not correct.
Can you protect me here, please?
Please go. You can't be protected when you are lying.
It is symbolic of people who have nothing to say, to interrupt when positions are being made.
You are saying nothing.
Puncture.
You are saying nothing now.
The kind of statements
you are saying nothing.
You know, the only thing that saves you from possibly my vituperation is that you are not a lawyer. Then you would have understood the import of Section 73 of the Nigerian Constitution. That the National Assembly, which is supposed to protect and serve in the interest of that Constitution, is defiling that Constitution. And we sit down here as if it is okay. So sometimes when I come on your show, I am very specific with the words I use. The last time I was on your show, I told you that the president was preaching the Constitution with the Lawmakers issue. And that these things must be looked at. We must begin to respect our Constitution.
And the Senate
our Constitution provides for the independence of INEC. The National Assembly is trying by this amendment to annex INEC. And we're sitting down here as if it is okay. If you are an umpire and somebody can determine whether you move or you don't move, has that person not annexed you?
That is not
So we
annexation.
cannot be clever. We cannot sit down here and think that we are more clever than Nigerians.
You are being clever.
Look at the way they voted.
Nigerian?
Those people know that even if they go to an election today, so let me tell you, none of those senators know that if they go to a free and fair election today, they will win their seats
Those
back.
Nigerians are Cameroonians. The senators are Cameroonians.
Those are people with interest to protect, knowing that no Nigerian today, having seen how this Senate has performed, will vote for those people.
You don't have an interest?
Sheung, it is the interest I have is in saving Nigeria, Sheung.
All right. You are not serving Nigeria. You are serving PDP. You are serving PDP.
What is PDP?
You must talk Nigeria.
PDP is not Nigeria. PDP is
only a chair was removed by the Senate populated by APC.
Sheung.
That was chair was denied.
And you
say saving about it. What are you talking about? We do that and you come back here and say something.
Gentlemen, just a moment. Just hold on for a moment. Let me cross to Kano. I'm bringing a former governor of Jigawa State, His Excellency Sule Lamido. Thank you so much for joining us today on the program. I'd like to start a conversation from where we've left off because I would like to get your view. It's good to see you again. I can see you on the split screen now. It's been a while, and let's begin by getting to know your view on what went down in the National Assembly today. Your view on this, on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill.
Sheung, I was thoroughly entertained. That's all. Because in lawmaking, you make law for Nigeria, not for yourselves. And those people who gather, they are only making a law for themselves, not for Nigerians, that's all. You heard me?
So what would you rather have voted for if you were in their shoes?
You heard me? You heard me?
Absolutely, I heard you. I said, what would you have voted for if you were a lawmaker today in the National Assembly?
To make our democracy very, very strong. I will vote for transparency of our democracy, its credibility, and that's what will enhance Nigerian security and the future. That's what I'm going to vote for.
But if you look at the arguments of some of the lawmakers who voted in favor of us having electronic voting, but electronic transmission of result, if INEC will consult with NCC, if it is possible, considering the issue of internet penetration. I mean, you are from Jigawa State, for example. I know so many places in Jigawa State are not also covered as we speak. Are you in favor to consider the issue of internet penetration and perhaps not to be outright in allowing electronic transmission?
Thank you for calling me rural, somebody from Jigawa State. Thank you very much for that. But then what I'm saying is, you see, even where elections, no matter how, even where they are done manually, they are announced before even before the result come to either a collation center or to the ward. They are even announced. So you see, it's about Nigeria having the courage to do the right thing. That's all. Having the courage to do the right thing, to be honest to ourselves. That's all. Whatever we do, we normally put ourselves first, not Nigeria. All this noise about legislation, about electoral bill transmission, we will simply look at our own personal interest, not that of Nigeria. Otherwise, why can't we unite behind a single country and then do what is right for the country? So they all believe and share the same thing.
So, I spoke with a few lawmakers from your party in the Senate, for example, and also from the House of Representatives, and they have a very strong view about the position of their colleagues in the APC. Some of the PDP lawmakers are of the opinion that the voting against transmission of result is simply a grand scheme in rigging to 2023 election. Same with Anthony Ahilebo here. He's of the view that that position is about rigging 2023 election. Do you hold that view also as a member of the PDP?
What is APC? APC is a formation of three legacy parties: ACN, AC, CPC, and I think AMPP. Even at that, they had to go and bring in PDP. So in APC is PDP, PDP is APC. Those who are going for their own personal interests abandon PDP and went into APC. So when you ask me to comment, I mean, those people in the Senate, most of them were members of the PDP. In 1999, nobody there was anything like APC. In 1979, it is because Nigeria was restored between 1999 to 2011. It was stabilized. And therefore, Nigeria begins with their own interest in terms of what do I go to pursue my own personal interest. That's why I know they abandoned PDP. Otherwise, what should be this kind of argument? Over what? Over interest? That's what I say. The entire debate is very, very partisan. Very, very partisan. Nigeria has been left aside and they're talking about their own interest. Transmission or no transmission, rigging or no rigging. Somebody from Cross-River State, who knows that the other place 100% PDP is saying it's been rigged out in APC. Rigged out in APC in Cross-River State, it's not possible. So it's about our personal interest which are trying to promote more than anything else. Let's just put national interest first, ahead of our personal interest.
Let me move away swiftly from the issue of the transmission of result and the debate on Electoral Act Amendment Bill. As a strong member of the PDP, a chieftain of the PDP that is, there's this conversation around your party wanting to come back to prominence in 2023. You have your eyes on getting back to power at the center. With what is going on, we've seen several defections from the PDP to the APC. Do you think, because you're an experienced politician, does your party right now has the nerve to be able to pursue getting back to power at the center in 2023?
Sure, it's not about me alone or my own party. It's about the country called Nigeria. Those people defecting going to APC, it's not they, but it is the office they are holding. Those people who are crossing over to APC are going there because they hold a political office. But before they became that, who made them? It's PDP. So when they go into APC because they're being either blackmailed or frightened and they're very, very scared, they are only going as office holders. By the time they go there, they've lost their own constituency. All of them. All of them. Tell me anybody who in APC who can now talk in his own constituency. Fabio was PDP. He went to the APC. No elections. Amici was PDP. Went to the APC. What happened in River State? All those who left PDP because of their own position went there and then they lost their own states. So the issue is people are looking at political office holders at the position first. But then before the position, they are all PDP invention, PDP creation. All right, so they become kind of deluded that, because they are there now, they try to ignore the political party, ignore their background, and then begin to put their own position. So they are going to be shocked in 2022. They are going to be shocked, all of them.
The PDP governors have already reacted. A statement signed by the governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwa, saying that the position of the Senate today is unconstitutional.
Well, we have the courts. We have the courts. We have everything. But let me make a point about His Excellency Sule Lamido of Jigawa State, former governor. He was talking about people moving from PDP and PDP made them. He was a sitting governor in Jigawa State. He lost Jigawa State as sitting governor to APC. Who was Otom? He was a creation of APC. Who was Obaseki? A creation of APC. They moved to PDP. It was normal. But once anybody moved to APC, it is about APC and APC not doing this. I ask you, Otom left APC to PDP and won his election in PDP. Obaseki left. So if the man called Ayade, Senator Ayade, a professor, leaves PDP to APC, what is he doing? He's simply engaging the political game. Should we play chemistry or economics in the political turf? I begin to wonder each time people talk about moving to APC being away from escaping from what you call ICPC, from EFCC and all that. So when people move from APC to PDP like Obaseki, what are they escaping from? It's a political game. We should stop this mind game of moving from APC as an escape route. Let us face, let His Excellency Sule Lamido admit that as a sitting PDP governor in Jigawa State, he lost elections to APC. In Cross River State today, His Excellency Senator Professor Ben Ayade has moved to APC, and the political equation in Cross River State have changed forever because it is no longer going to be possible. You say we have been there for 2019. So Saul has been Paul. And once he moved to become Paul, you say he can never be redeemed. You know, salvation is no longer for him. I do not think that these are political equations that hold water. I want to say that today, Cross River State is steady and has moved steadily and will maintain APC there with Senator Ayade as the leader of APC in Cross River State. And for him to begin to remind us that movement from one party to the other, on the floor of the House, a sitting Senate president moved from APC to PDP, Saraki. It was normal. A sitting House of Reps speaker moved from APC to PDP. It was normal. Today, it has become an anathema. It is becoming a political anomaly. It is becoming an albatross on the polity of Nigeria. They are so Nigerian and so patriotic that moving to APC has become a disservice and an unpatriotic act. I want to say that if we want to talk Nigeria, let's talk Nigeria to the extent that we want to amend our laws such that our generations to come will no longer face what we are facing today. And I don't think that
the statement I was referring to, signed by the governor of Sokoto State, made reference to Section 78 of the Constitution, which provides a quote, "The registration of voters and the conduct of elections shall be subject to the direction and supervision of INEC." So, and of course, it goes on, the third schedule, Part 1, and all of that. Do you see the independence of INEC being jettisoned by these very clauses?
Now, let me make this. The lawyers should be able to correct this. Each time you make a constitutional provision or a law for that matter in legislation, subsidiary legislation are subject to the Constitution, which is the ground norm. In this case, for instance, INEC, in that same Constitution, is subject to the Electoral Act. But the law under the Constitution under Section 3 insists that once any part of subsidiary legislation, in this case, the Electoral Act, goes in conflict with the Constitution, that law, which comes in government, bows to the Constitution.
Because the Constitution also talked about the inconsistencies of the law.
Yes,
apologies.
Now I ask you, in what way would the provisions of the Electoral Act, as regards to the provision?
Sorry, just a moment, because I understand that we have the former governor, Sule Lamido, back online with us. Apologies, there was a connection issue. So the question I was asking earlier on, Your Excellency, is whether or not the PDP has the capacity and the wherewithal, considering that it's lost some of major members of of the party to the APC. Can it win election in 2023?
Now, before I answer, let me comment on Clayton's, view about Saraki and Dogara. Dogara and Saraki were a PDP invention. They are PDP speakers, PDP governors. And then APC came, and they joined APC. And then when they got there, they saw, yes, it's not a proper political concept for them, and they left the party. I'm not sure if Clayton was also CPC or APC in 1999 in Akwa Ibom. I don't think so. All of them were formerly PDP, so what's wrong with PDP going into APC and coming out? Nothing wrong with that. But then, coming to the issue you also said about Jigawa, you see, I don't want to go into what happened in the north about those elections, the level of hatred, the level of blackmail, the level of the way we were maligned. I mean, there was no way anybody who was PDP could win election in the north, because we are being portrayed that anybody voting PDP is a Christian. He knows it. I was called a pastor. So naturally, if you come to people who are very, very religious and very, very emotional, if you give them the choice between PDP and Islam, they'll vote Islam. That's all. It's a simple thing. But let us go beyond the kind of emotion and this sentiment, and then look at the country. See, when we keep on exploiting our emotion and our sentiments, is Nigeria gaining or losing? That's the point I'm making.
Again, we have some technical issues there. So let me allow Anthony you wanted to react to what Honorable Cletus Obin said.
Well, it's very interesting that we are at a point where people have not taken the historical narrative very correctly, and you do not remember that we as as a party, PDP, have grown our democracy. It's not like we've had very perfect elections. The elections that brought in President Umaru Yar'Adua, he admitted by himself that were deeply flawed.
All right, sorry. Former Governor Sule Lamido, we have him back now. But just before we allow you go, within the few seconds that we have left, can you tell us, in your view, where should the 2023 presidential election be zoned to?
Now, the zoning has a history. The zoning was not something which came in on spot at the moment. It's something which was based on some kind of, reflection about what we went through between 1992 to 1999. That's what they felt behind zoning. And therefore, an area in the country was aggrieved because of what they thought, about their own will in the election. So they agreed. So it's fair enough. In the coming election, to be able to fully reconcile Nigeria with somebody from that area to run for the election. And in the wisdom of the PD.
Yet again, technology sometimes just has the minds of its own. And it's the thrust of the conversation about electronic transmission. Let me just allow you gentlemen to wrap up the conversation.
So have we closed channels now because you had a break in transmission? The electronic transmission, I'll tell you, you don't even need, and he keeps confusing electronic voting with electronic transmission. You don't even need internet. What you need is simply network by text. After all, that's what the technology the card reader uses as well. So what is this fright and this intent to annex our Independent National Electoral Commission?
We need to go now.
By the National Assembly.
But let me see if former Governor Lamido can put his final thoughts in just 30 seconds.
To me, my position is very, very clear. If Nigeria is sufficiently healed, then we should go for quality, right material. If, however, we still feel that we are having some kind of injury behind our history, then we should go for zoning. But we, at that time, begin to heal the country and then go for the best material in the country. Because the zoning thing is only given to particular people, as kind of, pacification, which means the best may not come from that place. But then if if we feel that up till now the injury we had in 1992 is still on, that we have to go on with the kind of mechanism of zoning, fair enough. But then to me I feel by now, after 20 years, this country is fully reconciled, fully healed to go for the right caliber of person to run for the presidency. That's my opinion. For the presidency. That's my opinion.
Former Governor Sule Lamido, thank you so much for your thoughts tonight. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much indeed for your time. And I must sincerely thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. The men in white, Anthony Hilebo, a lawyer and a member of the PDP. I don't disagree a lot, but they're looking uniform in their attires. And Mr. Honorable Cletus Obo, a former lawmaker and a member of the APC. On that point, we draw the courtesies of the program. Don't forget, keep your eyes on the ball. We are helping you to do just that. We'll be back on the floor of the National Assembly tomorrow to give you all you need to know. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm sure Kimale. Bye-bye.